Everyone. Today's webinar is on RPro promotions. It's a utility that comes with both version 8 and version 9. Most of the attendees I had in my recording are version 9, so we're going to spend the bulk of our time looking at the version 9 tool. Okay, from the beginning to the end. I might pop in and out of the version 8 just to show you the similarities. There are a lot of similarities. The version 9 tool is much more detailed, so we do spend the bulk of our time looking at this tool at the V9 tool. All right, so hopefully you can all hear me. Just so everyone knows, this webinar is being recorded, and you will get an email. If you attend this webinar, you'll get an email if you sign up for this webinar and did not attend, so you can get back to it on our YouTube channel if you so desire. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So our topic today is RPro promo, right? So first, a little bit of definition and how you set this little program up. It is not actually an executable that's part of RPro itself. Same for version 8. It's a little program that sits outside of RPro, and you use the little program outside here to configure it. All right, so I'm just going to pop this program up. I've put a shortcut out to the desktop, so it's easy to get to. Right, and so if I click this, this is what I get. This is the panel that uses this is the panel you use to configure all of your RPro promos. Now, before you can actually use this program, both in 8 and in 9, there's a little bit of setup involved. Okay, and so I'm just going to show you what the setup looks like. Right, so if you are setting this up from scratch and you review this video, you'll have the tools that you need in order to set it up yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize my RPro exe, right? And I'm going to open up this directory that I already have open here. So wherever your RPro 9 is installed in this case, and I will show you the 8 in a second. Okay, wherever my RPro 9 is installed, you'll have an RPro PROM directory, right? So RPro 9, RPro PROM, and there are several programs in this directory. This is the executable RPro PROM.exe that I've done the shortcut out to my desktop right here. Okay, a couple of other programs that need to go somewhere. This DLL, okay, and this MNF file. Okay, all you need to do to get this started, okay, is to copy these, okay, to the RPro 9 plugins folder. All right, so just copy, Windows copy, go up here, paste these in here. I've already pasted mine in, so of course when I do this, it's going to say, you've already got this here, right? So I'm just going to confirm that it's a copy, and I've got one open, so it's going to yell at me. But if you are doing this from scratch, right, you won't get those errors. They'll go right into this directory. Okay, and for version 9 people, you also want to do what we call register the DLL or the program. So, you know, this is a little bit under the hood, and for some of you, if you want to try to install this yourself, you might need a little bit of tech help to get it done. But I'm just going to show you what it looks like. We go down here to the start menu, and we go to the run. Okay, you can see I've got a command right here, reg SDR32. Okay, and then the path to that DLL. All right, so anybody who wants to try this themselves, you can register this program this way. Okay, if you need any help, let us know. The techs are really good at walking you through something like this. Okay, and once you do that, you're ready to go. Okay, now if you're on 8, okay, let me minimize this really quick and show you really quick. Apologize, I forgot to clear out all my windows here. Okay, so on the version 8 of this, you go to your version 8 install folder, right, which happens to be D on mine. Here's your Retail 8 folder. You will find, again, an RPro PROM folder, RPro promo. When you go in here, you won't see an executable, but you will see a BPL and a BMP, right? And so anything that's a BPL or BMP, okay, you're going to copy this, okay, to basically the same place, the plugins folder in your Retail Pro 8. Okay, so you copy these here. Again, this is going to yell at me because I've already got these in place. Okay, and that's all it takes to get everything started. All right, so now we're going to go back over to my 8 or to my 9. Okay, so now that you have your DLLs in place, okay, then the key is to set up a database. Okay, so there is a little database, and here's where it sits in the RPro promo folder. So this little thing, this MDB right here, is what we're talking about. Okay, and so I've already set up a handful of these, and so we're just going to walk through what the elements are because it does take a little bit of setup if you're doing it from scratch. Okay, and also I'd want to let you know that if you're thinking about doing this, you might ask one of the techs or trainers here for a sample database, and we can give you something that already has some of these samples in it, and you can modify these to your specifications, right? Or copy and change, right? Which is a lot easier than building it from scratch. Okay. And that's a pretty simple thing to do. We can email you the MDB and tell you what directory to put it in, and then you can launch your executable, and you're off configuring your own RPro promos. All right, so first, what you need to know in the options button, now there's quite a bit in here. We're not going to cover every little setting here. The important ones are this checkbox right here, enable the plugin. If that's not on, the plugin's not going to work. Okay, so that's how you turn it off and on. Okay, if you're turning it off and on, in order for Retail Pro to reread and make sure that it understood the change, you're going to want to get in and out of Retail Pro itself. So I'm actually in Retail Pro right now. If I wanted to turn this off, I'd have to turn it off, save it, and then get out of Retail Pro so it would reread the database and read my change. Okay, some of these things up here are reasonably obscure and we don't really use them too much, but there is a really good PDF that explains all these settings. And so our goal today was just to go through the highlights of how this thing sets up and what it's good for. And some of these fine points are the nitty-gritty. You can either try to work through with the PDF, which should have been delivered with the system. I know specifically it is with 8. With 9, if you don't end up with the PDF, let one of us know and we can email that to you and make it available for you. Okay, so essentially what you'd want to do is decide a couple things, right? So here, disable automatic promo calculations as items are scanned. Okay, so the way this works is every time you enter an item, it looks to see if it has anything to do. Okay, so if I go to a new receipt here, okay, and I enter an item, doesn't matter what it is or whether it's got anything configured for it, it's going to check every single time you enter an item to see if it has something to do. That little pop-up window is showing you that it works. Okay, and so every time you enter an item, whether the things are on promo or not, it's going to check that. So if you have a really long receipt, right, every time you enter an item, it's got to check to see if it's got anything to do. Every time you enter an item, check to see if it's got anything to do. Because of that, some people who have high item counts on their transactions would disable this, okay, which means that what it's going to do is it's going to let you enter all the items, and then when you go to tender, if you haven't done it already, it's going to check to see if anything needs to be or anything qualifies for a promo. It's going to assess all of that with one pass. Okay, so that's an option. Okay, and this here, if you check that box, that means that you have these choices, right? Perform it when the tender button is pressed. If you don't select that, then you have to press a button. Okay, and I would, if you're doing that, I would check that box so that you know when you go to tender and you haven't applied your discounts that you need to go back and do that, or your customers aren't going to get their promos. All right, so those are things that that we typically find that people need to know about. Some of the other things on here, you know, apply to odd cases or other things that that we're not going to cover today. Okay, so a couple of other things about the overall way this works. You can, use price levels with this, so the discounts can apply to some price levels and not others. So, you know, it's a pretty deep tool, okay? And so you choose here whether your different types of promos here apply to all your price levels, some of your price levels, pick and choose, however you want to set it up. The other thing that you have is you can choose to set a priority, right? So in our examples today, we're going to be doing promos, quantity discounts, and special pricing, right? And if something qualifies for more than one discount, okay, it will apply them in this order, okay? And then there's some things that you need to know about conflicts and resolving conflicts, and we probably won't cover that today. It can get a little deep. Okay, scheduling, I don't think we're really going to cover that. That has to do with an element here where you can set it up to automatically happen in your, like some people use this for like their preseason sale, right? Applies from X to Y, and there's a little more straightforward way to do that than use the seasons. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through a couple of examples up here on the top. So these things up here, these are how you make your rules. Okay, so I'm going to show you the basics on how to set up one of these rules. Okay, so the simplest rule is this pricing rule. Okay, and so essentially all the rules can have similar elements. All right, so they all have a name, right? So you can name this anything you want so that you know what it was supposed to do. Okay, you can tell the system whether, and back in my list of different types of discounts, quantity, promo, whatever, you can assign a priority. So you can say, you know, if the $1.99 item and it qualifies, that's the first level that I want you to apply. You can make it second, third, whatever, and that's by individual individual rule. Most people don't get too deep in here because they don't have things that overlap, because it can get really confusing. So this is a multi-sub tool, so if any of you have multiple subsidiaries, you can define one rule for one sub and a different rule for a different sub. Also, you can pick and choose by store. So if you only want this promo to be effective for a store or a group of stores, you have that choice. If you are multi-store, this database that you're building here can be sent out to remote stores. So if you're multi-store and you're building all your rules in one place, and you need this rule just to apply to San Francisco and Chicago, you build that rule that way. Okay, and then if you're changing anything in your database here, if you are familiar with the ECM move list utility, that's how you can send this file out. Right? If you're not familiar with that and you do want to set this up, let us know and we can help you out a little bit. Basically, with the move list, you can set up a template to send any file out, and once you have it, then all you have to do is execute it whenever you've made a change to your MDB. So it's relatively simple once you set it up once. All right, so you have a choice of stores. Okay, and then I'm going to skip over this item filter because this is the guts of what how the rule figures out what to do. Okay, so you've got a start date and an end date for every rule, and this one is a simple change whatever qualifies, right? And we'll talk about that in a second, to $2.99. Okay, I don't care what the price is right now. If it qualifies for this rule, it's $2.99. Okay, again, here you have choices where what price levels are we applying this to. Okay, and this is all price, 1, 2, and 3, right? You could change it to, I only want this rule to apply to price level 1 if you want. If you have, if you're using price level 2 as your original price, then you would probably not want to include that price level in any of these rules. All right, you can attach a reason code. These are the reason codes in your actual Retail Pro. So you can say, this one is, you can set up a reason code and attach this one specifically, right, to each rule. Now, scheduling, right, by default, it will set itself to daily, right? And you just want to make sure that your time range, right, covers the whole time you're open. We have some people that are open over past midnight, right? So you would want to make sure that this goes, all the way through that. So that ensures that whether it's midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, or whatever, you're covered. Okay. If you're only open from 10 to 10, that's great. Okay. This also gives you the capability of making multiple rules that apply just during certain times of the day, like early bird special or moonlight madness special, or any of those traditional retail things where they're time-based as well as date-based. It gives you the ability to do that. Also gives you the ability to have a Thursday special, right? It only applies on Thursday, only applies during the month of May, okay, on a Thursday. So, there are things in here that you can do. We're going to undo them to set these things up ahead of time, okay, and just have them start executing when the time comes. All right, so there's more over here. I don't think we really want to talk about that, any stuff over here. There's ways that you can attach coupons on here, so it will allow you to enter a coupon number in order to qualify for this rule. Okay, and we probably won't get too deep into that. Just know that that's a possibility. All right, so all of these rules, okay, are $8.99. Get this item for $8.99. Get this item for $9.99. But how does it know what item to attach it to? Okay, and that's where this filter comes in. All right, so I'm going to go into the filter here on the 3 little dots. Okay, and on the left here are all the ways that we could possibly filter and qualify this item for a price point. Okay, so you can see, you can go by DCS code or name, color. You could set all your extra larges to sell for $2.99. Filter for things in your description 1 or 2. I use an auxiliary field just because it makes it very clear how to set this up, because I go into somewhere in Retail Pro in my auxiliary 8 and I pick an item and I put that value $2.99 in my aux 8, okay, and then it qualifies for this, and that's all I have to do. So to me, that's the simplest way to do this. Other trainers do, you know, get fancier. Okay, but if you're learning this from scratch, right, that's the easiest way to do. You have a value, okay, in your aux8. Okay, and so if I go to my Retail Pro, I'm going to clear out of this, okay, and go look at my inventory. Okay, and you can see I have added my aux8 here. Okay, so I don't think I have anything in here that's $2.99, but if I wanted to make it $2.99, let's see, let's find something. We're going to clear out, let's see, we're going to clear these up, right? So if I change this aux8 to $2.99, okay, 2.99, okay, now if I go to sell this, it's going to, the promo is going to look and see, oh, inventory record says that aux8 is $2.99. I'm going to sell that thing for $2.99. Okay, so let me just write this down at 140407. All right, so if I go to ring it up, okay, I'm at 140407. Okay, yeah. Okay, so calculates that, and you can see it took the price down to $2.99. Okay, got an 88% discount. I'm really clearing those puppies out. Okay, so that it can be as simple as that. And the aux8 thing, and you can use anything you want except for vendor code. Just so you know, vendor code is not an option here. But you could say DCS, you know, code, right, has, you know, all the men's stuff, or all of the long sleeve, or all of this or all of that. And your choices here are, it can contain that, okay, it can equal, which means it has to match exactly, okay, or you can do an exclusion like you can with your filters, right, exclude anything with this value. Okay, so there's a little bit of flexibility there. You know, I like to show a pretty straightforward case here. If aux8 is $1.99, it qualifies, and it's done. And you can have multiples. You can say if aux8 is $2.99 and you know, there's a certain value in the description 1, then it qualifies, or it doesn't qualify. You can exclude it. All right. So this is a simple case, right? And you can see you set this up for a start date and an end date, right? So basically, I could use these price points here through to the end of 2020. And if you decide that you want to turn off this, instead of going to your Retail Pro, okay, and let's go choose good current here, going to your Retail Pro and removing what the value that's in your aux8, you could just simply change the date, the effective date, right? So if I decided that I'm no longer going to use that price point, I don't have to clear, don't have aux8 on there. I don't have to clear my aux8 here, okay? I can go here and change my close date, right? Back down to anything that's later than my open date, okay? And then we're done, right? That one is no longer active. So as soon as I save that, right, then that one's no longer active. You would have to get in and out of Retail Pro to make it reread the database, but it's turning them off is as simple as that. All right, so we're going to do one that's a little more complicated. I'm going to go into the actually not as much more complicated, go into the promos, because price point is price point, right? And that's rare in most people's retail world. What's more common is 10% off all books for the weekend, that kind of thing, okay? And in this case, right, you can build a rule for 25% off, 50% off, and what I have done here is made my aux8 my determiner, but you can also do something like add, if the DCS code contains, you know, whatever your code for book is, BK, right? So I can tell the system only take 50% off if aux is 50 or DCS code contains BK. Okay, or I could take this out, right? So if DCS code contains BK, then it's going to be 50% off for whatever time frame, right, I've got here. Okay, so changing these on the fly, right? And then if you're remote store, you got to download your database, but it makes it fairly simple, and you know, you really don't have to fiddle with what's in Retail Pro all that much, okay? Depending on how you're making your rule. All right, so same things apply here. You got a priority, a subsidiary. It can be multi-store, single store, a date range, a filter. This one also has the ability to go to a price like the price point one, or take an X dollar off. Okay, so you could say $10 off all books, or you could say, you know, $10 off all hats, or something of that nature. Okay, in the actual promo rule here. All right, so other things that are not in the price point. Okay, so we have discount reason, that's in the price point. Schedules in the price point. Price levels is in the price point. So this is the only other one that's not in the price point. So if a choice here, you're looking at it item by item, okay, instead of looking at the entire document. There are some cases where you might want to evaluate the whole document before you assess a certain percent off. Okay. Also, I think you can also use this to take 50% off a document if something qualifies. All right, anyway, and there's another thing here, quantity discount. We're going to go to quantity discount in a sec. So this gives you the ability to allow quantity discounts to take place and also have this accumulate on top of it. Okay, so it can get kind of complicated. All right. So next, complicated, or next in order of complication is the quantity discount. All right, so quantity discounts, and there's a bunch in here. This was designed for a cruise dock company where they do a lot of twofers and threefers and you know, just trying to build their item count, right, for people and try to entice them to buy more. Okay, so these are a little more complicated, but they have the same structure, right? The reason they have so many of these is that, like on these threefers, even if the threefer is like here, right? So the trivet and the mug, right, are both 2 for $8, okay, but they're not mix and match. In other words, you have to buy 2 trivets to qualify, not a trivet and a mug, okay, in order to qualify. So if you have the kind of situation where you have, you know, all T-shirts under $12.99, right, are 2 for $10 or 2 for $15, let's say. Okay, then you don't need to make a rule, right, for every style of T-shirt. You don't need to make a rule for every price point of T-shirt. You just need to say, if you buy 2 that have this Ox 8, right, attached to them, right, then you get the deal. Okay, so this is kind of a development on top of the promo code. If any of you are familiar with the V8 or the V9 promo code, where you could create an item. Let me get out of here, just so some of you might be familiar with this. In inventory. All right, where is it? Promo pricing, yeah. So this is a quantity discount thing, and this was a precursor to the actual RPro promo. So I like to show this because sometimes if this is all people want, this is a lot easier to set up, okay, than the RPro promo. Although it's immediately effective, it's harder to turn off and on. Okay, and what this involves is you set up a promo code, right? And if in this particular case, right, if they buy 13, they get each one for $12.95. If they get to 25, then they get them each for $11.95. So it's a true quantity discount. Okay, and something like this, okay, we have set so that as soon as you reach the threshold, you get every one that you buy after that for the same price. So with this, it is harder. It's not impossible, but it's harder to set up those breaks, right? So I have to buy 2 to get the deal. What happens to the third one, right? And if you say 2 to 2 here, then you get the third one for regular price. Okay, and that would mean that you would have to buy 4 to get it knocked back down to the special price. Okay, so that's the thing that if you're setting these up and you are okay with that once they reach the threshold to get the rest of them for the sale price, then that's the way you need to set that. Oh, I see somebody had a question. Let me see. Sorry, let's see. Sales tax free promo be covered. Jean is on asking the question about sales tax free, right? So that's if you're talking about a free weekend, right? Tax free weekend. That is not really the way to do this. This is a the tax-free weekend involves setting a tax code in your system that when you activate the tax area in your system, when you activate the tax area for whatever the time frame is that you get tax-free, and it exempts tax. Okay, and we do have some info on our website that explains how to do this. We usually cover it under our feature of the month. So if you go to our website, look for feature of the month, then that's covered under there. Send an email in if you can't find it, and one of us can point you at that information, because that is a common thing back to school. Sometimes people have tax-free weekend or week for just some merchandise like backpacks, school supplies, clothes, etc. And it's a pretty common thing, but this type of scenario is not the best way to cover that. Okay, so hopefully that answered your question. All right. Okay, hang on. You're welcome, Jean. All right, so okay, so these types of things here, right? If you buy, and these are, you know, pretty specific, right? They have, you know, this box mug. You have to buy 2 of the box mugs that have this Ox 8 on it, 2 4-box mug. So we know exactly what we're supposed to do here, because it's got to match that exactly. Okay, in order to get the get the 2 for price. Once you get to 3, you get the however many box mugs you want to buy at the reduced price. Okay, now there's a couple of things about this that are a little different, other than having the quantity threshold. You can, right, do the same thing here. It can be a discount amount. You can take it to a price point, okay, or you can do a discount percentage. Okay, so and you know, most of the time this is to a price, right, or a discount amount, but it can be you know, buy 2 and get them both for 10% off type of thing if you want. And let's see if there's anything else of note in here that I need to talk about. So slide this over so I can see what I'm doing. All right, start and end date. This one is rather wide, so getting all of this over here where we can see it, a little tough. right? Again, you have the coupon code, you have the ability to prompt for a coupon, right? And you can actually put a code in here so they they can scan a coupon or something like that, just so you know that they have a valid claim to this too. For a lot of the cruise lines, right, will put a barcoded coupon in a welcome packet for the cruise, and you take it in and you get a freebie or you get a reduced deal or whatever. And so this is one of the things that RPro promo can be used for, to make sure we're tracking those coupons, requiring them in order to qualify for this discount. Okay. All right. Now, the last one here that we want to talk about is BOGOs, right? So that's always been kind of a buzzword, a way to try to promote multiple transaction or multiple item sales. Some of what we've been talking about here, kind of gets to the whole BOGO scenario. Okay, but true buy one get one, right, has a few more elements here, right? So again, this is subsidiary store, okay, and then I have a filter for what you buy and a filter for what you get. Okay, most of the time it's, buy a pair of jeans at regular price, get the second one at 50% off, something similar like that. Okay, and so if that's if that's what you're doing, then you can use the same code, right? So I went into Retail Pro here and I made a couple things BOGOs, right? So if my Ox 8 is BOGO, if I sell one of these t-shirts, right, and then I list another one, either same size or different here. So I think I got multiple. I have this whole style, right, it's on BOGO. So if you buy one, you get the second one for 50% off. Okay, so we'll walk through that and then we'll test it. Okay, so the filters are the same, right, just like the rest of them, only there's two of them. Okay, so you could buy one and then get something free, right? And the free thing that you get is not the same item, but a gift with purchase or something like that, right? So that's possible with this. You would just have the Ox 8 for the gifts, right? Be something different. Okay, you could say change this to gift right here. Okay, and then only those things that are gifts you'd be able to give away. Okay, it would happen automatically. All right, so in this case, right, this is a buy one, get one for 50% off. So you're going to get one of these at 50% off. Okay, and here, right, if you look here, you have your choice of applying it to the highest price thing or the lowest price thing. Optimized means I'm going to figure it out because sometimes the BOGO is buy two get one, so there's other permutations where optimized might be the best way to go. Okay, I'm going to leave this on the highest prices. My BOGO happens to be all the same price, so it doesn't really matter. It's not going to change anything. Okay, again, start date, end date, and also in BOGOs there's a start time, right? So you can do your early bird special deal, right, if you want. And this is a start time and an end time and I don't think that's daily, right? I think this is start at 1 o'clock on 2/12/2015, end on 3/26/2020. Okay, if you need the BOGO only to apply during certain times of the day, right, I believe you have to go to the schedule. Okay, let's see if I can get over there. Okay. Discount reason, apply to price. Nope, guess not, no schedule. So what that means is that, this is the only way you have to schedule it. So if you're doing some kind of Black Friday deal, right, it's going to be start day at 6 o'clock in the morning or wherever you open, same day end at noon or whatever time it needs to end. So let me get over here because there's a couple other things that I know we need to talk about on here. Buy threshold. Okay, so here, right, this buy threshold can be used to make sure that they're buying at least X amount before they qualify for the BOGO. Okay, so if you have sometimes rules where you have to buy at least $100 or at least $50 in order to get something, and that's where that might go. Okay, and that would ensure that you're checking the subtotal of merchandise. Okay, to make sure they spend $100 before they can qualify for this BOGO. All right, I'm going to undo these because I want to demonstrate this thing, and I don't want to have any of those rules get in my way. All right, so this BOGO, okay, if I go to my sales receipt, all right, start a new transaction. Here's one of my SKUs that's on BOGO. Excuse me. Okay, right, and that one's regular price. Right, if I ring up my second one, okay, now that one is 50% off, right? So you can see it evaluated to 50% off, didn't touch my first one. Okay, put the reason BOGO in it, and it also is going to tag that top one because it was part of a BOGO. Okay, and the reason that's important is when you go to, if a customer would take this or bring this back, right? And say they wanted to return one of them, but they want to return the $135 one, quote unquote, right, and keep the one for $67.50. Well, that's kind of a no-no, right, because this was part of a BOGO. So on the receipt, you want to know which thing was part of the BOGO. So when you look at it now, you got a negotiation with your customer who wants to return that, okay, because theoretically you should. They should only be entitled to whatever half of $202 is, right? So this was their subtotal. This is a pretty clean case because there's only two things on there. But if they wanted to return one, then I'd only give them $100, right? You might even try to stick to it and say I can only return the $67.50 one, and only give them $67.50 back. That's a negotiation that you'd have to do individually. Okay, so you can see how these work now. If I go sell some more things that are BOGO, just want to show you how this works, right? So the third one, right, they get for $135. Okay, if they buy another one, okay, so now what it did was apply $67.50 to that fourth one, right? So now I've got two at regular price, two at sale price, and it goes and goes and goes and goes. And also just wanted to show you, right, when we're adding things, here how the little thing pops up, right? And it's looking through every item every time you ring something up to see if it has anything to do, right? So if you have, a dozen things, right, you can see that gets slower and slower the more things are on here. Now, this is not the speediest computer, okay, but for that reason, okay, it might be that you want to, let me go out here, okay, turn off that, okay, and then I'm going to turn this on and update that all. Okay, now remember I told you in the beginning, if something changes, right, in your promo, you got to reload Retail Pro, which means logging all the way off. Okay, and launching Retail Pro again here. Right, and we're waiting for the whole sysadmin to come up here. All right, so while this is loading, there it goes. All right, so now if I go to receipt, and go to new, and so now if I ring these things up, I didn't get unique ALUs, which is why that keeps coming up with 2 things. Okay, so you see it didn't do anything, right? So I'm ringing up things where it's a little faster to ring things up, and then it's going to evaluate when we tender, or if we push the go out and check all my items, right? So this can make it a little faster if you have high item counts on your transactions, but you can't see until you apply promo. Okay, so if you're doing this and the customer wants to know, well, how much do I really owe because there were promo things on there, right? Oh, I don't have that turned on. So this, you press a button and it would go do that, right? And apply the promos, and you could do that at any point in your transaction. If you want to know where you're at with your total for your customer, you could continue to add things. Okay, but it's not going to evaluate that every time you ring something up until you apply promo or press the tender button. Okay, so if I press the tender button, it's going to go read through all my transactions, figure out what all my promos are, and then allow you to tender it, or you can stay in items. And like I said, there's a button that you can add, and I don't have it turned on here, so that you can just press the button to apply promo, so you don't have to flip in and out of the tender. All right. Okay, so BOGOs, you know, they can get more complicated, right? I try not to get way deep in here. If you had a special case that you were going to try to, you know, to configure in here, and you're having problems with it, send us an email or give us a ring, and we can try and help you figure it out. Most of the time, people have the most trouble with how do I construct a filter to do what I want. Okay, so the filters can be, you know, multi-level, as I said. So Ox8 contains BOGO, okay, and you know, description 1 contains or no, let's make that an and it contains the word book, right? So if I do that, okay, it has to be both flagged in the Ox8, okay, and the description 1 has to contain the word book, right? Or you're using DCS code for the books or whatever. So if you're starting out with this, try not to make it too complicated to begin with, okay? So that you know you make sure it's working, right? I have a lot of people who first start with this, and if you don't get your DLLs put in right to the right place, okay, and you're not starting your the executable in the right place, it can be frustrating. So the key here is make a couple rules, right? Make sure it's enabled. I would make sure that this is not disabled, okay? Because then you can see the little window pop up and you know that it's actually trying to read the file. Okay, so that's your indicator that it's trying to read the file if the little window pops up that says that it's getting promos. So you can set it up, you can test it, okay? The other thing is if you have multiple workstations, okay? We have found that you're going to have to register the DLL on every workstation. So again, that was this little thing right here. So on each workstation, you have to tell the system, hey, you're going to be using promos. So you know, if it's a back office and you don't do POS, not big deal. But if it's a workstation out in the front, okay, then you're going to have to make sure that you've got it turned on for it to work. Okay. All right. That's the basics. There is a little used customer pricing section in here, and basically what it does is you can build a list of items, okay, that qualify for special customer pricing. Most people use price levels for this because their customer like gets cost plus or wholesale pricing, cost plus, a discount on everything. This is more of a way to build a list of specific items where they get special pricing, and just that one, the people who belong on the list get special pricing. So if you have a situation like that and you want to like kick it around with a trainer, that would probably be better. This can be, you know, a little confusing because it works completely different from these, right? So there's not an item filter here where you can turn things off and on. You specifically go choose things that are going to be on the list, okay, and then you know, assign a customer record to them. So people on this certain list get this price on these items, and it's a lot to set up. Okay, just so you know. But if you're interested in exploring it, we'd be glad to explore it with you and make sure you're using the right tool, because it's, you know, I don't have anybody using it because we've always found easier ways to deal with what they needed to do. Doesn't mean that there's somebody out there that doesn't need that customer pricing. All right. All right, so for just a couple of minutes, I'm going to show anybody who's still listening that might be V8, right? Just a couple of things about the V8 tool, where the V8 tool differs. So if you're not V8, thanks for your attention, and you can feel free to, you know, to turn your headphones off or hang up on me or whatever it is you do. So any of you who are V9 that are going to drop off, if you need any help with any of these kind of things, we can either set up an appointment to talk you through it. You can try emailing, and one of the trainers can try to answer the questions that you have if they're easy questions to email, particularly if you're just installing it. That's usually pretty simple. Also, we can send you the PDF, okay, for the instructions. So there's a PDF. I think I have it up here. Yeah, like this, right? So there's a PDF that tells you how to set it up, what all the little choices are, and goes through it. And you know, for one thing, you know, for once, this is pretty good, right? It gives you a lot of quality examples, right, and tells you exactly how to do them. So this can be a valuable tool, and it's reasonably straightforward and reasonably easy to follow. All right, so if you're interested in seeing that, just give us send us an email, and we can just email this out to you. It's not very big, 57 pages. That's not that big in Retail Pro land. Okay, so for those of you who are version 8, right, I just wanted to briefly show you the tool, and it works, you know, roughly the same way. It is a lot less robust. And looks like I closed it. Hang on one second here. Let me get it out. All right, so here's the tool. All right, and so roughly you can see the same structure, right? I already put my BPLs and the files that need to go from RPro promo to plugins. Already did that. And so here's the kind of rules that you can make, right? They are looking different and looking simpler than what we show you in V9. That's one of the reasons that I do it, you know, kind of separated, because if you understood through all the V9, okay, then getting to the V8 it seems like an easy thing to do. If I take you from V8 to V9, people's heads spin, and more people are on V9 these days. All right, so something simple like a quantity discount. Okay, so this rule I have, it's already created, right? And so I'm just going to look at the elements for this rule. So you can see you have a lot less flexibility as to how to like apply filters. So you could do a DCS. You can do with this add global, which basically allows you to build a filter and select everything in the filter, right? So if you wanted to say all books or something like that, then you use this filter to filter to all the books. Okay, DCS, let's say our filter DCS books are boot bucks. What have I got here? I don't know if I have any books in here, but we can just pick something. Let's say it's a hat, right? So all the hats are going to be X, whatever it is, right? So you can choose by DCS. You can use this, right, to set a UDF and filter by UDF. So technically you can do it the same way. It's just not as it's not as straightforward, basically. So you filter to let's see, start date, end date. What does that say? It said I don't have any of these guys right here, right? So filter to all my stuff that belongs to that DCS. It's going to show you that, and those are all selected now, right? So you choose this. It's not dynamic, right? You embed this right in your rule. Okay. So let's say you have to buy 2, right? And if you buy 2, you get them for $10. Okay. And you can specify all stores, 1 store, 2 stores. Again, with start date and end date. Let's back this up a day. And so you can set up a rule pretty quickly. Oh, name can't get trace basis. Okay, so let's just say hats. All right, so these 2 rules are in effect right now, right? If the DCS has a W, okay, then it's going to apply this rule. If hats, right, are on this list, that's what the global says. And that means that if I look at that list, let's see, let's just edit this quickly. So anything that's an item on this list, right, if you buy 2, then you're going to get a special price. Okay, so that's a quantity discount. Okay, pretty straightforward. And with V8, right, the sending to, if you're multiple store, the sending to remote is a little easier, right, because you have a handy dandy little send to remote. So it will take this file, right, and put it on the polling list, for lack of better terminology. And with 9, it's a little more, you have to purposefully go into your ECM, okay, and execute a move list, if you know what that is. And if you don't, we'll help you set one up. All right, so quantity discount, pretty straightforward. This also has a coupon thing where you can say, you know, I have, you get something special if you bring the coupon in, right? And so let's just edit one of these here. Let's look at this guy right here. All right, so give it a name that means something to you. And then this is the coupon number that qualifies you for this. So you can add a field on your version 8 down at the bottom. That's the coupon, and you can scan or type in the coupon code. And if you have the items on your receipt that qualify for this, i.e., in this case, let's see, for every 100 BOGO. So this one's just a straight discount, right? You get a $20 discount if you spend $100 bucks, and if you spend $200 bucks, you get a $40 discount. So really straightforward type of thing. You've got some ability to restrict different types of coupons. This is a little more well developed than the version 9, but people didn't use it, so they kind of cut back on the functionality over in version 9. All right, so coupons, okay, and then they have BOGOs here. BOGOs very similar to what goes on over in the version 8 or version 9. Sorry. Come on, edit. Here we go. Dun dun dun. Looks like I might get stuck. Here we go. Okay, so again, this is in most cases, right? You've got the same choices here to filter for a DCS or to be global and filter for a subset of stuff, right? Okay, and so you explicitly select the items in here, and then you tell the system what happens. So if you buy 2, you get 1 at 50% off. So if I left this the way it is, and it was between 9/6/2016 and 11/13/2016, it would evaluate, and every time it would see 2 of these, right, you would get probably the lesser one for 50% off. I see there's not a choice here in the setup for V8 to apply it to the lowest or the highest. All right, so that's BOGOs in V8. Okay, and then there is explicitly here like a gift with purchase, which you can do in the BOGOs in V9. This one was just separated out where you have a required amount that you have to spend, okay, and then you get X, right? So in this case, you get this number 1 here if you reach $100. All right, customer discounts are a little easier to deal with on V8 than they are in V9. There's just a little more, so it's a little broader. But like I said, most of what we are able to do in native V9 without the promo tool covers what most people want to do with discounts. This was kind of semi-intended on being kind of a loyalty thing. There are loyalty programs in Retail Pro that are native. There are some that are customizations, and so there's a world of options when it comes to rewarding your customers. Okay, this is just one step, right? Okay, and this is over and above actually putting the discount in the customer field itself. Okay, so usually all we do when we're talking about the V8 promos, and again with V8 promos, there is a really good PDF, right? And if you are interested in getting a copy of this and you can't find it on your system, let us know. We'll email it to you. This is very complete and pretty easy to follow. So if you're interested in learning more about this or trying to do this yourself, this guide can be very, very helpful. And you can try to absorb that. And then if you're still tinkering with it and can't get it to do what you want it to do, we can get a trainer on the line with you and try to get that, get you where you need to be, right? So that's the V8. Okay. So for those 2 of you who are left, right, I hope you enjoyed the brief tour of V8. If you do want to try to set up your V8, then if you don't have that documentation, please send us an email and we'll make sure you have it and get you pointed in the right direction. Or if you want to schedule some training time, we can do that as well. All right, so I'm over a little bit of time, but I did want to get a little bit of the 8 in for those of you who are still on 8. And if you have any further questions, please let us know. You will be getting an email with the link back to the recording of this webinar in case you need to review it. And as I said, if you need any further documentation on how to do this, we can forward you the PDFs, or you can schedule a little time with a trainer here to go through it. All right. So thanks for your attention. Right. I hope it's been helpful. And check out our other webinars. And there also are on our YouTube channel where this one will be posted, other versions of this same webinar if you want to check those out. I think there are some that focus more on V8 for those of you who may need that. And hopefully you'll find something of interest. All right, thanks for your attention.